Everything you're about to hear is for entertainment purposes only. Listen, have some fun, but don't ever do, believe, or promote anything they say. They're idiots.
Guys, hold up. You should know, this ain't for everybody. Welcome to Savagely Loud. What's happening, people? Guys, welcome back to the show for the people that understand that facts divided by feelings equals failure. I'm Cliff, I'm your host, and as you can see if you're watching, I have yet another special guest with me, which we will get to right after the, yes, you know the drill. If you want to help me get this word out, get these truths out, you can follow me on Instagram at SavagelyLOUD. That is where I'm most active. On that page, you'll find two links. One link is to the Savagely Loud podcast page. If you please follow me there too, because that will inevitably be my backup when they shut the other one down. Outside of that, I told you there's two links. So the second link is a link tree. Anywhere you want my social media, you want to watch the podcast, listen to the podcast, you can find it there. Outside of that, you can follow me Facebook, X, and Rumble at Savagely Loud, YouTube at Savagely Loud Podcast, and you can also email me in at savagelyloud@gmail.com. They're still pouring in. Thank you guys. You guys are fucking awesome. Last but not least, don't forget to like, comment, and share the material. Do the whole bell thing, the subscribe thing, the follow thing. Obviously, we've got to get this word out, and it's going to take a little help from you to do those little things for us. So without further ado, we're going to skip all the updates because I want to get right into this. With me today, I have one hell of a fucking guy right now making his way on the fucking internet. Jaxon Pryce, how we doing today?
Great, man. Thanks for having me today.
Dude, I'm like, you know what? It's so funny. Like, I'm captivated by your stoicism. Like, you're that cool, calm, even-keeled dude with that. I don't even know what level of voice you have, but it's deep and it's sexy. So it's pleasurable to the ears.
Appreciate it, man. Just doing my thing out here.
Yeah. So I had your brother on another show, and we were talking about some shit, but you guys are obviously different. Are you the older brother then?
He's older by 3.5 years.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
I would have surely thought you were the older one. Not for any, nefarious reasons or shitty reasons, but,
Yeah, we balance each other off a lot of ways. Like you said, I'm more like stoic, and he's more, I'd say, excitable and affable. And we for the things that each other lack, we kind of make up for each other. So we have a really good thing going.
You guys really do. And that's part of the captivating thing. So, and I'm sure this is going to have the same reaction. Your brother, when I did the show with him, it hasn't aired yet. I think I've got it slated to air the 21st. But ever since he posted that clip, we collabed on it. I've been getting message after message after message about the both of you. You got the two realest motherfuckers, the most down to earth people. They got a great outlook, and and that's how I felt too. And I, because of that, I don't remember exactly which video I saw of you guys first, but that's what I remember. Like, I remember just being completely based in reality, not based like, the based that's going around, but based in reality. You have the ability to look out at the world, call it for what it is, and then ask the questions on how we fix this shit rather than just go on about pissing people off for the points and the clicks. You kind of do your shit with a purpose now. And a lot of your shit is music, which I've actually, for the last couple of days, been diving into. Dude, it's so, I dig it, man. It's like, I don't even know what to call it, because I'm, I like all music, really. Like, I can get down with Mozart just as easily as I can get down with Toby Keith, just as easily as I can get down with fucking Slaughter, So I don't know, but I don't know the genres. But I know it feels like you're kind of making your own, really, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I think, to me, especially in this day and age, having authenticity as an artist is so important because, not to sound like a hater, but so much here nowadays, especially in hip hop, is very derivative. Everything is sort of a carbon copy of something that already exists. And it's difficult for me to get on the bandwagon with that because what inspires me is something that's new and fresh and innovative. And in this day and age where everything feels the same, like not just sounds the same with the music, but everything feels the same. It's
Yeah.
like this weird synthetic, robotic sort of texture to the musical landscape right now. And they even taste the same as well. They feel the same. They smell the same. Our senses have been nullified. And so, what I'm interested as an artist in doing is just breaking through that. And I'm interested in taking risks and sometimes being provocative. And, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to make a lot of blunders, but I'm very much interested in the authentic aspect of the whole thing. And, I consider myself a hip hop artist. I wrote poetry when I was a kid, and I've been making music for a long time. But I also blend and splice that together with my brother who does my production. He does EDM. I also play like fingerstyle classical guitar. So we're trying to just like make our own thing in this weird way and make our own lane.
It's so working out because obviously your
Thank
music
you.
clips that you guys post, they are, like you said, they're provocative, and but it gathers attention and it makes people listen, and then it makes people think, because for a lot of different reasons. I feel because like I said, it feels like you're making your own genre. It feels like you just said, you're cutting and splicing and welding together all these different genres of music and all these different styles, and you're creating your own thing. And I know, like, you've got the Jaxon Pryce thing, which is, I've been listening on Spotify. You've got, I mean, people, it's obviously gathering attention. You got 10,000 something, monthly listeners. So on Spotify, and, I know that it's, you're not Metallica or whatever, people will fucking say, but you have to start somewhere. Like, you got to grow from
Yep.
something. And that 10,000 number was zero at some point. So it's
Oh, yeah.
proof that you're doing the work. And the work really shines through, and the quality really shines through, and the passion, because I'm a huge one for passion. Like, I'm very passionate
Mhm.
about what I do. When, what the things that I do, I'm very passionate about. So I recognize passion. And when I hear you and I hear your brother and I hear the whole production, it's just like, you're like, the first thing you think is, whoever made this absolutely gives a fuck.
Mm. Thank you. Yeah, and I think that sort of that intuition as an artist, it comes from a place where it's almost like you don't even want to make the music, you feel obligated. Like I've always had this fire inside of me where it's not that I just want to make the music and express myself as an artist. I have this thing inside of me that's telling me, you have to do this. Do this or your soul will die. It's that serious for me. And, I like to have fun. I like to experiment with different genres and crack jokes and write zany punchlines and things like that. But like you said, that passion has always been the backbone of everything that I do. And to your previous point, yeah, you got to always start somewhere. Me and my brother, everything we do from the politics to the online content to the music to the production, the video production, it's completely just me and him in a room with no budget. No, we don't come from money. We don't come from some weirdo nepotistic, connection. Like it's just me and him. And I've been grinding now for like 10 years. And, you had a lot of stuff, dues, people doubting you, getting blacklisted, getting gate kept. But again, the thing that keeps you going through all of that, not to sound preachy, but the thing that kept me going through all that is the passion, like you said. And that's something I think you either have or, and it's sort of like a flame, and you got to nurture that flame on of oxygen, and it'll ebb and flow, but you can't let that flame go out ever. And so I'm just trying to flame explode right now. That's the goal.
I think you're exactly right, because people can tell fake passion. Like, everywhere you look online, it's like, I'm going to act passionate about this until this wave ends, and then I'm going to act passionate about the
Mhm.
next thing. You can tell the real passion, because really passionate people, when they focus on their content, their material, whatever it is that they're doing, truly passionate people that are passionate truly about that material, that's what they do. Like, that's all they do. They don't ride
Mm.
every single narrative and every single wave that comes up. And you see it a lot in the music industry, because I at heart, I'm a rocker. So we've got a radio station in my local area, and they do this thing called the 420 hit of the day. And what they do is they take a lesser known band that isn't, doesn't get radio play and whatnot. They'll play the song at 420, then everybody votes on it, and at 5 o'clock it'll it'll pass. The shit that's been passing lately, or the shit that's been puffing lately, which is good, play it again, is it's fucking gross is music. Like I'm like, dude, rock is fucking dead. It's all the way dead now. It's like it's just a bunch of crybaby whining shit over the same beat and the same riffs and the same chords. And I think that's what's so refreshing about yours. I gotta say, so I was doing my workout last night. I hired a coach, and because I got to get healthier, whatever. But I was doing my workout last night, and I put on your shit on Spotify, dude.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what the fuck what I don't know anything about the making music, creating it, especially digital. The bass in some of your songs, you're like, holy shit, I gotta get this in the subs. Like I have to get I'm gonna fucking rattle the walls down. You know?
Oh yeah.
I thought that was every time I listen to your shit, I just like I get more and more hooked. Like I can't tell you how many times I have like hummed, I just don't give a single fuck anymore. I must have muttered that to myself a million fucking times over the last couple of days. Cause it's all good shit. But here's the other thing. Not only is it, I would say great shit. Not only is it great shit, it's different. It's something nobody's doing. It's, you know, I mean, we've got hip hop artists, we've got rappers out there that are on the political train, you know, but where are the based ones? Like, where are the ones that are, you know, even Tom McDonald, who I love, I'd never throw the dude shade, but even he is, it's light mode, you know, it's light version of getting into the shit. You know what I mean? But then you guys come out, you and your brother come out, and I know you guys got Frojax going on, which we'll get into. And it just punches you in the fucking mouth with the truth of things in a way that makes you want to keep listening. It's fucking amazing. I think you're actually fucking killing it.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man. I appreciate you being able to like look beyond the part that's provocative and then being able to see like the artistic value too, you know, because there are bass rappers out there who they have that sort of punch you in the mouth element, but beyond that, there's not much there. There's no like originality. There's not a lot of like musical composition. What I'm trying to show people is like you can be provocative and you can be aggressive, but I also want to back it up with a legitimate skill set too for the people that are like looking for the layers, the deep thinkers and stuff like that, you know?
Well, you know what? I've got a tendency to be able to look past the shock element because, you know, my content online is it's all about the shock element. But it's shock element with a purpose, and the purpose isn't points and clicks. The purpose is repair. The purpose is solution. You know, the way you have to do it is like is in a certain at a certain point in your career of whatever you're going to do. If you're an outspoken person, you have to shock the fuck out of people to the point where it pisses them off enough to talk to you. Because once you get that conversation started, then minds start changing because you have the open door now to, you know, to let them into your world, see that this isn't just like, I'm not just out here throwing around racial epithets to get points and clicks. Like this is part of the material. It's part of the passion, but it's also part of the message that we need to be speaking about right now because there's so many things going on that are being missed. And that's another reason like why I appreciate your guys' music so much is because it really brings in a different crowd, you know, like everybody that when you think based or you think, you know, like racially aware or you think right side of politics, anything like that, you always think rocker or you think country, but you never think hip hop. And then when you do think, you know, so then you start like, if you do think hip hop, you start getting in and you see, you know, you got the Tom McDonalds and shit like that, you know, but then there's you guys. And that is a whole different crowd. So you're moving almost like you've got a little bit of hip hop, a little bit of trance, a little bit of R&B, a little bit of, you know, drum and bass. And you're bringing in like, I think it feels like you guys are bringing in 5 other demographics while everybody else is focused on one apiece. I think that's truly a fucking amazing thing that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We're trying to make it palatable and connect to as many people as possible because that's the problem with just doing, you know, being hyper focused on one genre. If you spread your reach, you can communicate your message to more people, you know. And as far as the shock value thing, that's so true the way that you just described it. You know, one of the realizations I came to, I've been making music and working really hard for a very long time. And it's safe to say that if we're being honest, the music industry and really the entertainment industry at large it's kind of rigged.
It's all the way
To sound
rigged.
like a it's not to sound like a victim, but the reality is that if you want to ascend to certain positions, you have to compromise certain parts of who you are as a person, not just physically, but also spiritually. Whether that comes in the form of like nepotism or like sexual favors, so weirdo stuff that goes on, really hard to break through, especially in a day and age where everybody wants to do it. Everybody wants to have their time in the limelight, you know? So the realization I came to, especially as somebody who's like sensitive and I care about people, I care about the world that I live in, I was just like, fuck it. I'm not going to let my talent just disappear. I have to shock the fuck out of people. That is the only way. You have to grab and say, I have something to say and you need to listen. And when you hear it, you're going to like it. That's the attitude you have to approach with, you know? And so that's the adaptation. I could have just kept going along like this and meandering away into the wind, but that's gay.
Yeah.
I gotta do something about it. So value, while I won't allow it to define all of my music, it is certainly a very important part of the piece of the puzzle. Yeah.
So let's get into what led you down this road of just seeing reality for what it is. Because I'm
Mm.
sure that you get a lot of the same shit I get. You racist fucking piece of shit, you anti-Semite,
Mm.
you this, you that, and the other thing. When the reality is what we're trying to do is facilitate a conversation, and we're doing that through our shock value, like you were just talking about. You have to grab people's attention, shake them into listening, and then they can start changing their minds. So I'm curious I'm curious as to hear how you got started down this road here.
Oh man, I wouldn't say, as far as like going down the based rabbit hole, I wouldn't say there was one inciting incident. It was rather a collection of like different moments of me following my intuition. I think one of the most important things, I guess, on the racial aspect would be realizing that under this anti-white paradigm that's been constructed for us, if you're a white person and you make observations, not even an assertion of will or an assertion of opinion, if you just make certain potent observations about the reality that we live, people will automatically call you a racist, supremacist, or whatever ist or ism there is. And so the realization I is that if that's the construct that we live in, nuance kind of goes out the window. So the only way we can communicate our message is by dispelling the apologism. Otherwise, it's not going to resonate with people. Because when somebody says you're a racist, you're a white supremacist, doesn't mean that they're making a moral judgment. They're trying to use political tools to make you silent because your perspective is a threat. That's actually like the three-dimensional level of what's going on. If you make an observation about crime or about the Zog machine or about the industrial complex, and you're somebody that looks like me or you, like a disagreeable white man, which is like symbolic in a lot of ways. If you have that aesthetic and you're asserting an opinion, people don't want you to assert that opinion because symbolically it means something,
Yeah.
because our identity means something. And so kind of developing like a white racial conscience has also been important for me. And it's been pretty fulfilling too, I'd say as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible how much indoctrination has taken place over the last several decades, especially since 1965 ish. That's when it really kicked off. You know, as where they wanted to start eliminating the white identity and promoting the black identity, the brown identity, the yellow identity. Anybody that's not white is promotable, is you know, up on a pedestal. But everybody that is white is a very large problem for those people, as we've been taught, as we've found out, you know, in the recent years, where our whole or like, I shouldn't say generation, our whole demographic of people have really started waking up. It's caused people, because, you know, everybody knows the more you push on somebody, the more they're going to want to go the other way. You know, it's kind of the same principle as like if you lean up against a dog's left side, it's going to lean left. Well, people are the opposite. If you fucking push on their left side, they're going to go bolting backwards. Like, we're going to figure out why you're pushing on me. And all this indoctrination has now backfired. All these decades of indoctrination has now backfired, and it's caused good, normal people that normally probably wouldn't even have gave a fuck, probably wouldn't even have paid any attention. It's caused them to start looking at things. And the more people that start looking at things, the more dangerous the narrative, the more dangerous to the narrative that is, because the only savior is white erasure is what, is kind of the narrative of society. But then we start looking at the numbers. I actually did a video today about GDP comparisons, and it turns out white people are 59% of the population in America, but we produce 82% of the GDP, whereas the black community is 14%, which I think is low. I think I buy that as much as I buy the 11 million illegal immigrant number that has been being used since 2004. I buy that as much as I buy that one, but let's call it for, because it's statistics sake, 14% of the population. They only contribute 8% to the GDP. When we have that conversation, it seems to shift the narrative. It seems to shift the whole vibe of the conversation, because when you do run across, especially a black man, I deal with a lot of black dudes on through email every day, all day long. And most of them are cool as shit. Like, I'll be honest with you. Most of them, they hit me like a normal human being. And their big complaint is that they just want me to separate them. And I just don't separate them. And I'll get into that why I don't do that. But I deal with a lot of these dudes, over email. And it always comes down to, like, they start out with, you're a racist or this and that, or they start out with, dude, I agree with a lot of what you say, but you need to separate us. Well, you haven't separated us, and that's the problem, and that's what we're seeing is a lot of the homogenizing of cultures, right? Through the vocality of white Americans, especially. We talk about black culture as like black people as they're all the same. They're all part of the club. Mexicans, all part of the club, all of that. And I got an email today with a guy, and he was awesome, and he handled everything really well. But I explained to him that I will not separate the demographics of people. I understand 100%. I don't know if you know, I was a former card-carrying member of a real racist organization. I woke up every single day with a seething hatred for people that didn't match my tone. Because I lived through that, and then I've transcended that and learned other things, I can see both sides. And I have this ability to talk to people and talk them down off the ledge. But I told him, I said, I won't separate you guys, because that's part of what we need to do to fix the problems. See, for generations now, white people have all been being lumped in together, and we still are. Every white person on earth was a slave owner, and we get blamed for it. But now, as a black man, if I say every black person on earth creates crime in their areas and destroys their communities, you say you want me to separate you guys. Well, I'm not going to do that, because I want you to feel how shitty that feels to be lumped in with all of that shit, that narrative of, everybody's the same, nobody's different, everybody's evil, nobody's good. And that's I get that from you guys, from you and your brother. Like, I get that, like you said, the apologism, like you've removed the apologism, and you're just real. And it goes back to that authenticity thing where you can just say things that you feel unapologetically, and and people gravitate towards it. They just do. So when you're online, I'm super curious to know, because your music especially is of one demographic or of the other demographic. What racial demographic do you deal most with? Is it like, I deal with like a lot of liberal white women, and that are talking shit, and I deal with a lot of black dudes that are talking shit. As far as negativity goes, what are your demographics?
Right now, it's like a massive cloud of chaos. I get love from every demographic and hate from every demographic, and every ounce of it is fascinating. To me, that communicates that message is going to resonate with somebody regardless, honestly, because I am an unapologetic white political dissident. I'll make no effort to hide that. I'm very transparent about who I am and what I believe in. But there are a significant number of non-white people and women and even some Jews who support the sort of white identitarian, because they recognize that white people constructed certain societies, and they want white people to win the culture war. They want us to maintain our societies, because on some level, they understand that if we go away, so will the society that they live in, right? So there's sort of like an intuitive understanding there. Um, and as far as the black thing, it's like anything else, right? Like on an individual level, it doesn't make sense to look at somebody superficial this moral judgment. I hate you for X, Y, and Z, right? Like I'm a rapper. It's hip hop culture. It's black culture predominantly. But back to the authentic piece, I don't use ebonics. I don't rap about the street lifestyle. I don't posture in actually, even with like my vocal tonality, I rap like the way I speak, because I'm not interested in trying to be somebody else. I want to be a voice to show that you can be a masculine white guy, but you don't have to talk like a black thug or something like that. Like you can just be yourself in this art form as well. And there's a number of black people who really like what I'm doing, and there's a number of black people who really hate what I'm doing. So I don't know. It's a huge melting pot. Let's use that nice little Jew word, right?
So much
I mean,
diversity.
yeah, I mean, it really is. It really is a big melting pot. And I mean, I have like black dudes who are like, yo, we're gonna pull up and da 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 da. And then I have like black women who are like creaming their panties. I have white dudes who are like, America first, nigga. And then I have like skinheads. Then I have Muslims who are like, help us in Palestine. It's like every kind of person. It's fascinating. And I'm so grateful for all the connection I'm creating with people right now. It's so interesting.
That's something you said, something that I didn't really think about before, and now that I'm thinking about it, it's pretty brilliant actually. The diversity of the amount of people that you have coming at you, for both good and bad reasons, that the signification there is that you can appeal to so many audiences. Like I didn't even think about that, through music, because I'm not a musician. Like when it comes to music, I pretty much got chopsticks on a piano and I got a fucking smoke on the water chorus on a guitar. That's about it. That's all I got. So I don't really get to look, I don't get to see it through the eyes of a musician. And I do know some plenty of musician friends, and they have a different way of looking at the world. And I think it's a beautiful sense of view that they have, the sense of perspective that they have. But you said that you have all of these different audiences, and I think that's awesome that music can bring that everybody, because I don't have quite such an array of people that are coming at me. Like nobody comes at me like I have since stomped out the you need to be talking about the Jews. Like I don't need that. Like this is what I talk about. This kind of shit. This stuff I see in my neighborhood that affects me, that affects my family, affects my community. That's the shit I talk about. You talk about whatever you want to, but that pigeonholes me into getting basically, your certain couple of demographics. That's got to be wild to deal with so many different personalities, on a consistent basis. But I also think that it's got to help to grow your music, grow you musically as a creator, because every time you talk to somebody that has another different mentality or perspective, that adds something to the music. It adds something to your soul, to your brain.
Yeah. I think that's the importance of being truth-based, because when you like into right wing of politics, there's a lot of people who really lean into the anger. And I understand a lot of those guys do follow me and support me, and I do support them because I recognize the way that they've been disenfranchised, and I see the writing on the wall. A lot of young white men are angry, but I also think that we have to elevate our vibration to a certain level so that we don't just everybody of our kin or whatever you want to call it. And so that's why it's important to me, not just with the music of tapping into different genres, being able to communicate the music to so many different audiences, but all politics and everything like that. Even as radicalized as I am, I'm still always willing to open the dialogue and connect with people, because that's the most productive thing that you can do. You have to still keep an open mind, even in this day and age. You have to be willing to listen to people.
Well, and that's I've learned that, the hard way from, back in my day being a skinhead and whatever. And, people always, the trad skinheads, they think that they're originals. They always want me to label it, neo-Nazi, racist skinhead. But everybody thinks, everybody says skinhead and you know exactly what the fuck you're talking about. But
Yeah.
when I came out of that, I had to learn how to talk to motherfuckers. Like that's one of those things that I had to learn. Like, it can't be a white world. Like, we're just not in a situation where it can even possibly be a white world. You know, unless you're going to genocide every motherfucker on earth, it's not going to happen. So we're going to have to hit this with some sort of practicality, some sort of brain, some sort of empathy, some sort of nuance. And I'm not a huge fan of nuance because people just overwork the fuck out of that word. And everything's so nuanced. Everything's a gray area. No, most things aren't. But, you know, having to learn how to get that conversation going and then be in a position where you're being attacked and you keep your calm because you can see the end of the conversation already. You can see that this dude's just pissed off because of what he saw. You're going to explain some shit. You might exchange some negative things. But in the end of the conversation, minds are going to get changed. Blood pressures are going to drop a little bit. Tempers are going to drop a little bit. And people are going to walk away from that conversation with a brand new understanding of something, at least on one level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There is a question, though, we do have to ask ourselves as white people. If compassion and empathy isn't being reciprocated to us, at what point are we obligated to still extend it on our own? In other words, if everybody's treating us poorly and disrespecting us, at what point are we obligated to say, hey, we don't have to reciprocate anymore? You know, so I'm always for the pro-human element, but I also recognize that, look, white people are endangered, and I don't think that those conditions are going to improve really at all
No.
until something radical is done about it. That doesn't mean, and I maintain, that doesn't need to be at the expense of other people, but it does need to be uncompromising in nature. And what we have now is a culture that completely promotes, on a subliminal level at least, the erasure of white people and
Yeah.
the excellence of what our ancestors have contributed to society. And so, at a minimum, we have to craft a culture that does the opposite of that, that celebrates us within our own societies. And that'll be a good step. That'll be a good step. And it doesn't need to be violent in nature, but it does have to be honest and uncompromising, I believe. And I think that what that really means is that just like every other group of people, white people should be allowed to advocate for themselves, and they shouldn't have to apologize for it.
Yeah, that's a lot of what that's a lot of how I feel is you know, you said it. I always say pro white doesn't mean anti black. You know, I can be
Correct.
proud of my ancestry. I can be proud of my family, my accomplishments of my people, the same way any other person is proud of the accomplishments of their people, and it doesn't take away anything from you. Me being proud of you know what my ancestors have built throughout history, that doesn't all of a sudden erase everything your ancestors have built throughout history. But we've all been so programmed by that Franco-Prussian school system that we're in. Oh, you got something. Let me
Here,
have it.
so yeah, I know you can always tell. Here's something very important that I've realized about that, though. When you say that as a white person, I'm allowed to express my pride, not at the expense of others, and non-white people get mad, they get mad. And again, I'm just going to punch through here. I'm going to be very blunt here. I believe that there is actually a natural racial hierarchy. And I think that when non-white people see white people who reject the conditioning, reject the apologism, and say, yes, we are excellent, I think they find that, frankly, very intimidating. Because what is the world that we live in? We live in a first world country. We're breathing air, we're breathing oxygen in the West with Flemish bonding, and we're speaking English language, and we have political discourse and civilized conversations. I mean, the very fabric of what we exist in day to day is because of people that look like me and you. And I think that there is a significant number of people who, on a very deep and visceral level, resent that. And that's going to piss a lot of people off because it's fucking true. And again, I don't say that to be mean, but I believe it is the case. And I think that white people need to also acknowledge that and not tiptoe around that reality either.
Well, yeah, of course, and I would 100% agree with you. Absolutely 100% agree with you. There is a hierarchy, and it's just been proven throughout history. Africa didn't even have second floors until white people got there. Like they just didn't have it. There's no word in in many African languages for maintenance. Like they can't,
Yep.
they don't take care of things. They use it until it's used up, and then they find or make a new one. There's certain things that we've worked out through the course of our history that other people have not worked out or have been incapable of working out. But I feel like it comes down to, it's essentially everybody can run the government better than the government can run it, right? Like if you ask anybody, it doesn't matter who the fuck it is, ask anybody. They've got 1,000 ideas of how they could run the government better. Just make me president, I'll fix this shit. Is that so? Okay, and then so if you bring that down to a smaller scale, let's take business, right? I've owned businesses, I've run many businesses that weren't mine, and it always happens the same way. The person that wants the promotion that didn't get the promotion, they didn't get the promotion because they didn't deserve the promotion. They're not capable of the position. So they get pissy when somebody else gets it or I would get it. And then you go up there and you say, okay, let's do it. You run this shit for a week. And then after a week, it falls on its face. And what do? They walk away hating the guy that got the promotion, figuring out some way in the back of their head to blame that person for their failure. And I think that's a lot of what we see, just to simplify things. That's a lot of what we see culture to culture to culture, because there's cultures that are more advanced than white people, like the Asians, when it comes to certain elements of life. They've got it figured out, like try to outmath an Asian. Like it's just not going to happen, but but try to outbuild a white guy. It ain't going to fucking happen. Like it's that kind of stuff.
Yeah. There are so many different categories that you can use to quantify each different demographic's contributions to the world throughout history, right? You have like the analytical, mathematical skill. You can talk about musical or athletic ability with sub-Saharan Africans. You can talk about creativity and building and systems management with Europeans. But I do think that the reality is that the group that has, checked off the most check boxes for the most categories, irrefutably, is white European people.
Mm-hmm.
More specifically, the Germanic ones as well. And again, I don't. It's so funny, right? The world that we live in is so backwards because saying something like what I just said, which is objectively true, in nature is the same thing as me saying clouds are white or the sky is blue. But because we live in such a polite society where everybody lies to each other, it's like we can't even say the reality, which is why we're lagging so far behind. It's like, yes, I don't hate anybody. It doesn't need to be some explosive, violent thing. But look, white people dominated. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. It doesn't have to be some big personal thing. I still love everybody, but man, we got to be able to live in the reality, And I'm just, that's again, going back to when you talked about dispelling apologism, I'm just so over it, I'm not looking to ask permission to say these things. I think white people are great and, it needs to be said more often.
Right. Oh, it absolutely does. And that's why people like your brother, myself, and so many like us that are just, I wouldn't say overtly racist. We've got that sector too, but the people that are just not going to apologize for being white anymore. Like I've never have, and I'm sure you probably never have either, but most of our culture has at some point or another. They've apologized for who they are. We're just not going to have that anymore. And I think that, because we live in a world right now that's starving for real leaders, absolutely fucking starving for real leaders. It's coming down, oddly, like you touched on before, where people of other cultures, other ethnicities, creeds, colors, whatever, when they see a white guy like you come online and you just don't give a fuck. And it's not don't give a fuck into the situation where you want to create a problem. You just don't give a fuck in the sense that you're not going to apologize you're not going to adhere to the narrative. They see fucking cojones that are this big, and they're naturally drawn to you as a leader because you're not afraid, because you're stepping up, you're standing up, you're speaking up, and you're not apologizing. And so many times now, like so often we see these leaders, they get up on a podium and then they have big balls, and then right before the speech ends, they basically fucking apologize to everybody. The world's starving for leaders, and it's odd to me that we're finding that that so many different demographics and different cultures are looking to people like you as the leader, because race has been such a hot issue since the 60s, or we can go since the 50s, really. It's been such a hot issue, such a divisionary issue, that it's kind of coming full circle. Like, people are just kind of getting the reality of things. Like, like I have conversations with people and say, like black people, and I'm like, dude, you realize I didn't own any slaves, right? You realize, like, nobody in my family owned any slaves. And you realize that the slaves that were owned mostly were owned by black people in America, and all the slaves were sold by black people. So why are you getting so mad at the people that bought them? And Al would say bought the least of them and then lost the most of their own people to stop it. We're not talking about the Arab slave trade. We're talking about white people and 600,000 people dying to stop slavery. You're getting so blinded by this narrative, but once you can break through that narrative, I've found my way. You have very obviously found your way, and arguably a better way than mine. But once you get through that narrative, once you punch through that narrative, you start getting into, do you have a brain or not? It's going to become evident very quickly. And if you do, we're going to walk away with some different perspectives.
Yeah, well said. There's a lot to respond to there. I appreciate you said it looks like I know what I'm doing. To be completely transparent with you, and I'm always going to be honest to people who are being honest with me, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. All I do is wake up every day and do my best, just like anybody else. My brother has been such a paramount part of my journey. He's been one of the people who's been pushing me, stop overthinking, stop being a perfectionist, just put it out there. There has to be a level of spontaneity. And so a lot of it is like a freestyle element. I'm sort of just out in the wilderness, just trying to figure out this. It's politics and music and white people and this and that and Jews. And it's just like this whole storm of things I'm just trying to figure out in the moment. And I think that speaks to, again, the idea of authentic leadership. A leader isn't necessarily somebody who has the answers. A leader is somebody who has the balls to ask the right questions. And nobody has the balls anymore. It truly mesmerizes me that in a society with there's over 300 million people now, how many of us are pussified? I don't know if that's a product of strong white European stock getting killed during World War II and like all the testosterone, floating away like a balloon. But everything's fake and gay. We all know it, and we're craving something new. That's just what it is. It's like I'm looking around the landscape culturally right now at politics, at music, and I'm like, 99% of everything is fake and gay. Fuck it. Someone's got to do it. Someone's got to break through and take risk. And I don't know, it might not work, but you got to just go for it. I want to respond to another thing that you said before about like the idea of anger. One of the things I want to encourage, white people who, do consider themselves identitarian or care about our country and like, taking back our power in an ethical way. What I would encourage them to do is to not lean too deeply into anger and into hatred of others. Our passion can't be defined by hating other people. It must be defined by a love of self and love of God. And so, yes, I like to make, harsh jokes and I make observations and I say crazy stuff here and there, but we have to make real contributions, and I see people who get really stuck in the mud, nigger this, nigger that, Jew this, Jew that. And it's like, okay, it's funny in like small doses, but we have to elevate. We can't just be sitting around angry all the time. We have to elevate our frequency a little bit. And it doesn't have to be at the expense of other people. So you said a lot of really good stuff that I wanted to respond to it all. I did my best.
No, that was fucking brilliant. I love that whole anger thing, because that plays right into my whole world. Like, I like I told you, I woke up every day with a seething hatred for everybody else. I wanted to find a way to get all of you motherfuckers off of my planet. And all that hate was baggage. And it's so difficult to move through life with any sort of efficacy or efficiency when you're carrying so much baggage. And then you get to a point where it just weighs you down so bad you can't move. So then you're either stuck in your pit of fucking self-sorrow and wallowing in pity, or you let that baggage go. And that's not to say that you have to, you let that baggage go and then all of a sudden you're the other side now, but you can let that baggage go just long enough to find a different perspective, a different way into the problem. You can come through the back door, the side door. You don't always have to hit it, dead on. And I think that's really brilliant. Is the anger issue that you brought up, is because I get a lot of motherfuckers that are really angry, like fucking rah 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 shit all day long. Like I get somewhere in the neighborhood, like, and I'm not huge, but I get somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 emails a day of people just rah, 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 mostly rah, 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 rah. And some of those dudes are really fucking angry. And I'm like, I love the support, but I don't love what you're carrying with you. I don't love the way you're living your life, because I know that feeling of being full of that hate and that anger and that resentment. We need to tone you down a little bit. We need to bring you back down to earth. We need to open up your eyes a little bit, open up your mind a little bit, and let's see if we can't solve the problem outside of just wiping every motherfucker you don't like off the planet. I really like that anger issue that you brought up.
Yeah, that's so important. And just to expand on that a little bit, I don't know who's going to be listening to this or who's going to hear me or whatnot, but for anybody who is feeling angry, I validate that, because I also feel angry. We have legitimate reasons to feel that way. But the point that I'm trying to make is that we can't let anger, which is based in emotion, we cannot let that define us and the path that we forge going forward. Once again, we have to elevate, you know? And if we allow our anger to define us, we will only be ending up like replicating the same people that we are criticizing, that we're angry about, right? So we have to rise above that. And so, sort of like a practice what you preach kind of thing. What am I doing on that front? Yes, I have a lot of anger. Yes, I'm very frustrated about the society that I live in. Things look very grim for white people. But instead of just stewing in that wrath, I decide, I want to make contributions. I want to make music. I want to go out on the streets and interview people. I want to do podcasts, get out there and try to do something. So take the anger and just direct it into a productive direction, because it's not going to go away. The sources that are causing that anger are still deeply rooted in our society, but we have to figure out how to mold that and shape that into a tool that is good for us and good for humanity. You know what I mean?
Yes, I absolutely fucking know what you mean. I feel you 100%. You just nailed it. Like, you fucking nailed it, man. You become the people that you're angry with when you allow yourself to get to a point of anger. And let me describe this for the listeners out there, or the viewers. Essentially, it's this, okay? You know my content. I talk a lot about the Black community and the problems, the glaring issues within the Black community. Now, if I was to do nothing more than just hit the internet every single day and piss and moan about Black people, pissing and moaning about white people, or ruining their areas or this and that, all that's going to do is allow the people that none of us want to win even easier, because every single one of us are out here going, it's, you know what, it's these people that are using these people to fuck these people so that they can have control, blah, 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 blah. And while we're all saying that, every different demographic of people are all saying elites are trying to divide us so that they can conquer the world and own everything and be, one communist global regime. We're also sitting here pissing and moaning at each other. We're sitting here just getting mad at each other. So if I came on the internet every single day and the only thing I did was bitch, I'm just becoming no better than the people I'm bitching about. That's why we have to add a solutionary aspect to it. We have to add this element of trying to find the answer. Because if the truth is, and I know you white boys out there that love me, you ain't gonna like to hear this, but we're gonna need the Black people if we're gonna win. We're just gonna need them. If we really want to fight the elites, if we really want to fight the whole Zog machine, we really want to fight back, we're going to need all the fucking help we can get. And a lot of the fucking help the best help we could get is banding together with black people, because they're a giant part of our demographic here in America, our populace in America. And I also understand, I'm angry with them too. Like, I had made a comment in one of my episodes when I was growing up. I'm 43. So when I was growing up, my dad used to say things like, there are certain areas in this country, certain parts of those certain cities, so you can't even go in. Like, you can't go in certain parts of certain cities in this country. And now it's become a situation where you can't go in any major city, and half of the suburbs are a war zone. And it is because of the black community. We can call it anything you want, but that is a fact. The war zone in this country is 100% started by the black community. But we have to look at why. We have to put some of this anger, some of this resentment away to look deeper at it so that we can find the answers. Because a good answer, an answer that's good for me is good for America. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Look, I 100% get what you're saying. I love black people. I truly do.
I don't love black
grew up-
people. I'll be honest with you. I don't love them, but I'm
okay.
willing to work with them.
That's okay. See, I love them. I love them, but I don't want to work with them. And it's because I love them that I think that we should separate. Because I think if we recognize the different kinds of human value, we can also recognize that we are just at a deep level incompatible. And it goes without saying, look, I think it's white people that have been bending over backwards forever trying to compromise and find common ground with not just black people, but fucking everybody.
Yeah.
And that's demonstrated by the fact that we altruistically allow everybody in here into our countries, and people still have the audacity to say, you're not doing anything, this and that. And it's like, okay, they're not going to care about us anyways. I think on a certain level, I think we have to just go our own way. I truly believe that, because I mean, if you just look at like the intra-crime disparities, like the crime statistics and things like that, or even like the cultural attitudes that black people have towards white people, I wish I could say that we could all come together and fight, the globalists, but I don't think we can, because I don't think they like us. Some of them do. There's a handful of black people I've had in my life who have been very pivotal, and I care about them quite a bit. But as a group, overwhelmingly, I believe that their behavioral profile is just abhorrent. And I don't think that it's worthwhile anymore for white people to expend energy, time, or resources to try to compromise with them anymore. Black people talk a big game about, we was kings and all that jazz. It's like, okay, stand by it. Why don't we just form our own communities? Black people, when some guy overdoses on fentanyl, black people are allowed to hoop and holler and burn the whole city down. But when one guy builds a little compound of like 25 acres out in Arkansas, it's like a fucking international incident. Oh
Yeah.
my God, it's the new Nazi regime. It's like at a certain point, we just have to acknowledge that nobody's going to save us. Nobody's going to unite with us. I think that we have to just sort of go our own way. That doesn't mean that we're not going to treat people with respect day to day. That doesn't mean that we don't have certain interpersonal relationships through businesses, their families, acquaintances, and things like that. It doesn't have to be some like rigid cutting off at the seams sort of thing. But I do think that it will be pivotal for the survival of white people, not just for the survival of white people, but for the survival of civilized society, for white people to, one, develop a racial consciousness, and two, use that racial consciousness to advocate for themselves.
I 100% agree with you. I'm a separatist. Like, I look at everybody as, when your kids are acting up and they're not getting along, what's the first thing you do? You go to that corner, you go to that corner. Well, nobody's getting along. Everybody's acting up, nobody's getting along. So you go to that corner, you go to that corner. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because me personally, I 100% believe that if white people went and we just segregated, like you brought up, I returned to the land. If we did just white only communities, white only state, white only country, we would absolutely thrive. 100%. It's been proven throughout history, throughout time. And black people feel the same way about their own culture. Black people feel like if white people went away, black people would thrive. The problem is, and I did a whole episode on this already. The problem is that we do that. We do that over and over again. Black people all have their own communities already, and they're called projects. You know, they're called housing developments that go to shit, and they're so crime ridden that nobody can go there. Cops won't even go there. People die and nobody knows. Like, it's every time we build a housing project, that's a black only community. We've been doing it since the 1920s, and it's a black only community. And here's the difference is when you put a bunch of white people together in, let's say, a neighborhood, and of course, I'm not talking about the anomalies. I'm not talking about the extreme fringes on one end or the other. But when you put a group of white people into a community, we make the community better. It's called gentrification, and cities and states do it religiously to pick up property values. They move a bunch of white people in at the expense, quote unquote, expense of the people that already live there. And because they want to up the property values, they want to make the area nicer, they want to make the area cleaner, and they know we'll do it. Because when white people take over a community or inhabit a community that's shitty, we all like, hey, Marge, you got an extra broom? I want to go sweep the room, you know, or go sweep the road. And then somebody else is mowing grass. Like, we fix our shit. But when you go to black neighborhoods, you start out with these black neighborhoods or these housing projects are gorgeous. They're fucking beautiful. And over the years of just absolute degradation and a lack of give a fuck on the part of the people that live there, they turn into the worst areas on the fucking planet, you know? And I feel like in America, we kind of have a system here where white people will be in an area and it'll be super nice, right? And then whatever area borders that, let's say you've got a shittier area on the west side, right, of whatever this community is. Well, inevitably, what's going to happen is on the west side of that nice white community, you're going to get Mexicans start moving in because those Mexicans don't have a problem splitting a house payment with 5 families. Like they'll build walls in there. They don't give a shit. They'll pack their entire fucking extended family. I hate these new fucking updates to apples.
Don't worry.
But they'll pack 5 families in there and they have no problem with that. Well, what happens then is that kind of makes the white neighbors feel a little icky. So they start moving out. And eventually the Mexican wave will take over that neighborhood. The white people will go to another neighborhood and make it better and make it what they wanted. And then after a while, after the Mexicans have kind of run their course in that neighborhood, maybe something happened, an economic fallout, something happened, you know, and so they'll start moving out because on that west side where they moved from, the Mexicans came out of that west side into this new neighborhood. The blacks started coming in behind the Mexicans because everything's cheaper. It's affordable. You know, they're used to living in fucking dangerous, squalorful hellholes. So they don't mind. So they'll move in there. And then after a while, the Mexicans will move out and then the blacks will take over and then it'll become a shithole. And then after the blacks, that's when the Middle Easterners come. And then there's just no fucking hope for the area at all. That's how I see it. Like once the Middle Easterners are there, once they're there, you're done. It's done. It's over.
Well, in essence, what you are describing right now is an example of a racial hierarchy. And what does that mean? It means that we are different. What does it mean to be different? Our nature, the things that define who we are as peoples, are different. And it makes people uncomfortable because it can't be changed. It's embedded in our genetic code. The way that you just described the behavioral profile of white people is with pinpoint accuracy because we have a genetic understanding of systems management. This guy needs to go do that. This guy has to go do that. We have to allocate this resource to this project to be this level of efficient. That's part of who we are. Why? Because we survived and hailed from the Caucasus Mountains where we had to plan ahead. We had to strategize. We had to play chess with the barren wasteland that we were living in. And if we didn't do that, then we wouldn't have survived as a people. And so again, people will take that, and it's like 50% of people who hear what I just said, it's like cognitive dissonance, racist, Nazi, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, fuck you. I'm not talking to you. You're a lost cause. But for the people who do hear what I'm saying right now, for the people that are like still remaining, you have to understand that what we're talking about is material worth and not like spiritual worth, right? there is a racial hierarchy, but I don't think that that necessarily applies to the soul, right? I still believe all humans have souls, but I think the soul that inhabits the human form, it does vary genetically on like a material level. And that's been demonstrated throughout history time and time again. It's just what it is, you know, and to go off of what you were saying, it's just so funny. You know, I do a lot of interviews and I post provocative videos and I have conversations with people. And I have a video that went viral of me talking to a bunch of Mexicans. And I say, are you more proud to be Mexican or are you more proud to be American? And they live in America. They say, I'm more proud to be Mexican. I'm like, okay, why do you live in America? Because we make more money here. Wouldn't you be more proud to be Mexican if you made money in your own country? Well, actually, well, it's like, no, it's very simple logic. And what that demonstrates to me is that they don't care about us. They don't care about us because we will come to non-white people with legitimate grievances. Hey, we just got stabbed on a train. Hey, one of us just got raped in the street. And then they'll say, oh, this is indigenous land. It's like, you know what? Fuck off. At a certain point, the conversation is just over, bro. They don't care about us. I'm not saying all of them, okay? I have a number of black friends who I absolutely adore. I have a friend who lives in Iran. My nigga Baxter still, all right? My Persian homeboy. All right. But you also have to acknowledge that, like, dude, as group averages, people really don't like white people. And it's just the reality. It's just the reality. And as a person who chooses to live in reality, I'm going to risk ostracizing myself talking about it a little bit, but it is true. Like, because if Mexican people respected us or if Black people respected us, they wouldn't be doing all those things that you're describing. We don't go to their countries and do that stuff. When we go to their countries, we create civilization.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry. Yeah, it's just what it is, you know. But anyways, take it back. I'm kind of rambling, man.
Well, it goes, you know what, and you know what it plays like. I just the way you were talking, it reminds me of if you look out across the global landscape. You know what do you see when you see primarily white countries? You see everybody there saying that flag offends them. All the immigrants, the flags of the primarily white countries. It's never Nigeria. It's never fucking the Democratic Republic of the Congo's flag. It's never Iran's flag. It's always the British flag or the Australian flag or the American flag. It's always a flag that people feel are, you know, it's always the flag of a primarily white country that seems to be so offensive to everybody. And it's just because of what you said. It's because they don't respect us. If you don't have to like us, I don't give a fuck who you like. But at a certain point, you've got to understand that we are deserving of respect because, especially when you're coming to our civilized countries from your uncivilized shitholes, you have to understand we built this. Every last white person in America helped build America the way it is. And, you know, we are, most of our population is white, and most of our neighborhoods, you can walk around at night and not get shot. We did that. Every last one of us, because we have a moral dedication to just being decent. You know, we understand I don't want to walk out of my house and get shot at. So I'm not going to walk out of my house and shoot at someone. But it seems like all these other cultures don't possess that peace of mind, that self-awareness, where it's just like, you know, they heard one, somebody's going to get you, and now they're just out to get everybody, you know, as a preemptive endeavor.
And I think the racial thing it's temperamental, you know, because even for me as an individual, I'm very unorthodox. I've lived a very strange, uncomfortable life. I'm a rapper. I've been through a lot of pain, whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm still white. I'm still of Germanic European stock. What does that mean? I care about doing the job. I like to dress clean. I like to be professional. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. You know, like I'm crazy, I'm provocative. I do a lot of wild things, but like in terms of like my interpersonal relationships, I really care about nurturing those. And that's a temperamental thing. And that is a white thing.
Yeah, that is absolutely, yeah. You know, because you see a lot of the problem, like when you see videos online of black people that are actually talking about the problems in the black community, that's one of their biggest aspects is like, you motherfuckers are murdering your own people and talking about how much you love black people. it's very that, and then you go around your own, your community, and you kill other people, you rob other people, you burn down their businesses, and then you want to talk about respect. It feels like a lot of the times in modern society, the only people that have any respect for other people, not just themselves, but for other people included, are white people.
Yeah, it's really exemplified by the story of Cain and Abel. You destroy that which you can never be out of resentment. You have to destroy it because you can never be that. Oh, I can't look at it. I have to destroy it. I have to rape it. I have to kill it. I think it's based in resentment, and I think it's pitiful. And that's the difference is that, people that I up to in my personal life, just on an individual level, right? I'm just speaking about myself as an individual. There's a distinction between famine mentality and my brother's bagging up the chips over there. Sorry about that.
Oh, don't be. I can't hear shit.
There's
It's
a
all good.
there's there's a distinction between famine mentality and abundance mentality. For example, whatever, I've had a very unorthodox life. There's certain things I don't have yet. When I look at people that do have certain things, my inclination isn't to be like, this person can't have that, or I need to go through some mental gymnastics of how they got it to make myself feel better about why I don't have it. It's like, no, my inclination is to be like, oh, this person has something. Let me ask them a question. Let me try to learn how they got here. Maybe I'll learn something. It's something called abundance mentality. Even if you're poor, broke, sick, which I've been all those things, you still have to have abundance in your heart and in your mind, especially when you talk to people who have more than you. And I think that not just on an individual level, that seems to play out on a racial level as well, where people who don't necessarily have the means, instead of trying to figure out how to get those means, they feel like they have to like destroy the people who have the means, if that makes sense.
Oh, that makes 100% sense. Just like you said, you got to destroy what you can't be. It's if somebody's got something you want and you feel like you'll never get it, you have to start degrading their position in life so that either remove themselves from that position, or you create an opportunity to move yourself into that position. We see it all the time. I fully get what you're saying, and it's a sad state of affairs that we live in. I think it's kind of safe to say that. This whole idea of the diversity, a melting pot being our superpower and a strength is I think everybody has woken up to the fact that it's not. And honestly, I think the people that have woken up the most are white people, and they're not afraid to say it anymore. They're not afraid to say, like you keep telling me that if I welcome all these people in, it's going to make things better. It's going to make things better in our world, in our country, our lives, our communities. But every single fucking time more people come in that you said we're going to make things better, things get worse. So what the fuck is happening? Because it's kind of the opposite of gentrification. If you want to ruin an area, you send blacks or Middle Easterners in. If you want to make it better, you send white people in. Like but there's only certain demographics that are capable of understanding this and then making the changes necessary, whether it be in their own mind, their heart, their perspective, to accomplish better things, instead of, make it so you can't accomplish so that we're even, like where white people, I think that's a big discernment is white people. If I look at somebody that has more than me, is more than me, does more than me, I figure out things that I can do to put myself up on that level, as to where every single other person, other culture in life now, it feels like if they see somebody that's higher on the food chain than them, they start trying to figure out how to remove the bricks from under their pedestal to bring them down instead of, pick themselves up.
And if it weren't true, if everything you just said wasn't true, then history as we understand it wouldn't make any sense at all. It's just true,
Yeah.
So yeah, and I don't want to harp on the racial thing. I mean, I think it's very important, but it just goes back to like, I have to be blunt. I don't think that, words like diversity, inclusion, Those are just code terms for white genocide and
Yeah.
white replacement and white erasure. Somebody says diversity, oh, it's just anti-white. Somebody says be inclusive, it means exclude white people. And I'm able to examine this on a like large scale level, but I can tell you, I've experienced this anecdotally many times, many times as somebody who's worked in music and worked in modeling and stuff like that. I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible. And it's not about meritocracy, it's about power and it's about leverage. And if you're a white guy, especially if you're a white guy with balls who's disagreeable, they want you to have no leverage. And I'm not saying that, whoops, excuse me. I'm not saying that coming from like a victimhood complex. You still hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that coming from like a victimhood complex type of way, but it is an observation of the reality that we live in.
Yeah.
So this goes back to the honesty thing. Yeah.
So, all right, dude, we're running an hour and 10.
Okay.
It feels, dude, it feels like we've been here for 20 minutes, man. Like I could talk to you,
Yeah,
and
I know.
I could talk to you and your brother. In fact, I want to get you and your brother on a show. Both of you. We're gonna do that. We're gonna make that happen, whether you like it or not. We're gonna make that shit happen. You and your brother, and we're gonna talk
Oh yeah.
all sorts of shit about all sorts of shit. You know what I mean? So,
Oh yeah.
let's wrap this up. It's been a fucking hell of a conversation. I knew you were going to deliver, just like your fucking bro. I love you guys. You guys are some of my favorite motherfuckers now. You really are.
Appreciate that, man. So
Um,
I really enjoyed the conversation. It was really good.
that's awesome.
Thank you
And
for
yeah,
having me.
hey, thanks for being, man. Thanks for being here. I truly appreciate, your perspective, your eloquence in your speech. And that's another thing is just the way you orate things is very, very positive. It's almost soothing to the ears to hear you speak, because you have this vocal tone and this vibe to you where you can say things that, if I said the same shit you did, to 50 people, let's say, if I said the same shit you've said, 50 people would be on the phones pissed off trying to get 50 other people pissed off. But you say, and probably only 25 people will get pissed off, and the other 25 will be like, I think he's onto something. It's just the way you are, and I think it's fucking awesome. So,
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, the message you say is also just as important as how you say it too.
mm,
And we all have different styles. Like I think your communication style is excellent. I overheard you talking to my brother, I think it was yesterday or something. And he's like, dude, you sound like a radio host. I'm like, yeah, he has like a very good, like it just cuts through. So I think you have a great communication style as well. We all have different styles and different value.
yeah, I would say that is a safe observation, is to say that we all have our gifts, and we've kind of learned how to give them to the world in essence. It's all going to get better over time, because everybody's still young. So, these gifts that we have, that we like to put out there, they're only going to get honed. Our skills, our capabilities are only going to get honed as we go on. And I'm fucking stoked to see what the future's holding for you. I really am. So let's wrap
Right
this
back
up.
at you.
Let's wrap this up. Guys, if you want to help us get these truths out, help me get this word out, you can follow me on Instagram, Savagely Loud. That is where I'm most active. On that page, you'll find two links. One link is to the Savagely Loud podcast page. If you could please follow me there too, because that will inevitably be my backup page. And you will also, on the other link, you will also find, it's just a link tree. Anywhere you want to listen, watch, whatever, you can find it there. Go check it out. Outside of that, Facebook, X, and Rumble, it's Savagely Loud. YouTube, it's Savagely Loud Podcast. And you can email me in at savagelyloud@gmail.com. Anything you want to say, you want to rip me a new one, you want to fucking rah, 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 I'm all for it. I'll answer you. Don't forget to like, comment, and share the material. Jaxon, tell everybody where they can find you. If you've got anything at all, you want to plug your sites, your brother's sites, your mother's sites, whoever, let's have it.
All right, guys, if you want to support the ADL, make sure to make a donation.
Fuck you. The
Nah, fuck that.
Anti-Defamation League of Southern fucking whatevers.
No, my name is Jaxon Pryce. I'm on all platforms, JAXONPRYCE. I'm also one half of the duo with my brother, Hurdy Murphy. The duo is called Frojax, Frojax. Once again, all platforms, Jaxon Pryce. Just dropped Weighing Half. America First coming soon. Tons of music, multiple videos today. We're just gonna keep pushing it, keep coming out, keep talking up for the people, and just stay tuned. A lot of really good stuff on the way, guys.
Yeah, I mean, dude, what you have now, I was just jamming the fro. In fact, I used your guys' song the other day on on my
Oh, I
Zero
heard
White
that.
Kill. I was like, dude, this is fucking awesome. What was it, Money Talk? That's I put that on
Yeah,
there, and
yeah.
like I just heard it. I'm like, dude, this, like I said, I'm a rocker, you know, at heart, and I hear you guys' shit. You know, between your brother's fucking production and the beats and all that, and then your vocals and his back, I'm sure he's got some background action going on there. Like, dude, it's fucking tight as shit. I cannot wait to see where you guys go with this shit. And but on the next show, when we get both of you on here, we're gonna be talking
Yeah.
Frojack's monstrosity, because we want to get you guys fucking lit. We want to get you guys into people's ears. We want to get you into every fucking house out there, because not only is your music good, your lyrical content is fucking amazing. The way your production is awesome. It's fucking smoking all the way across the board. That being said, let's get to our Hopelessly Human segment. For those of you just tuning in, every single episode, we get really into the weeds, and we don't want to walk away feeling like shit. We don't want to walk away all amped up. So I like to end each show with a little segment called Hopelessly Human that starts a little bit like.
People can be really rough. They can be quite tough. They can get in the way, but at the end of the day, some aren't only stupid, some are hopelessly human.
Yes, they are. Some are hopelessly human. Our hopelessly human today, it says, a man was driving his car when he saw an old lady stranded on the side of the road. He saw that she needed help, so he stopped his Pontiac near her Mercedes and got out. He smiled while he was approaching her. Still, she was worried, as nobody had stopped for hours. Moreover, he did not look safe, as his appearance was poor and shabby. He could see how frightened she was. There's a lot of fucking commas in this that I'm trying to get through, because whoever wrote this article is a fucking atrocious nightmare. But he could see how frightened she was, so he tried to calm her. I'm here to help you. Don't worry. My name is Brian Anderson. The tire was flat, so he had to crawl under the car. While changing the tire, he got dirty and his hands were hurt. When the job was done, she asked how much she owed him for his help. Brian smiled. He said, if you really want to pay me back, the next time you see someone who needs help, give that person the needed assistance, and think of me. At the same evening, the lady stopped by a small cafe. The place looked dingy. Then she saw a waitress, nearly 8 months pregnant, wiping her wet hair with a towel. The waitress had a sweet, friendly smile, although she had spent on her. God, I can't get past the vocabulary. Although she had spent on her feet the whole day. It's a great story, I promise you. I'm just butchering the fuck out of this because somebody doesn't know how to write. The lady wondered how someone who has so little can be so kind and giving to a stranger. Then she remembered Brian. The lady had finished her meal and paid with a $100 bill. The waitress went to get the change, and when she came back, the lady was gone. She left a note on the napkin. You don't owe me anything. Somebody helped me once, so just like I'm helping you now. If you really want to pay me back, don't let this chain of love end with you. The waitress found 4 more $100 bills under the napkin. The night the waitress came home earlier, the waitress came home earlier. She was thinking about the lady and the money that she left. She was wondering wondering how the lady could know how much she and her husband needed, especially now that the baby will soon arrive. She knew that her husband worried about that, so she was glad to tell him the good news. Then she kissed him and whispered, "Now everything will be all right. I love you, Brian Anderson." I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought it was kind of bullshit when I got to it, so I did look it up. Turns out it looks to be true, so take it for face value. Feel a little love in your heart. Get fucked. That's the show. Later, guys.